Hello, welcome to episode 26 of the Top 2 Inches Rugby Podcast, brought to you by I Spy Surveys, the go-to specialist survey and inspection company based in Exeter, Devon. What is going to be on episode 26, I hear you cry? Well, Ollie will be here once again to talk about all things ruggers, ranging from Scotland's heroic victory over in France to the Gallagher Premiership. What's to say? Tries, more cards, and the development of the youth players in various teams. I'll check in on the Allianz Premier 15s for the ladies. We'll also have a little look ahead to the start of the Ladies Six Nations. Looking forward to that contest. No Gallagher Premiership next weekend because it is the restart of the European and the Challenge Cup. So we will focus, once the results are in after the weekend and on the next episode, around the kind of English teams mainly and how they got on. Fantasy Rugby, we'll check in on that, and I have to say it was a good week for me, not so much for Ollie, but I'm sure he will come up with a multitude of excuses as to why I took the round. So let's just crack on, enough of me babbling, let's go Ruggers. Round 16 of the Allianz Premier 15s happened over the weekend. It was drama from start to finish. And it actually saw the first draw of the season between Saracens and Quins. They played out a nail-biting encounter, top of the table clash in front of the cameras. So let's just have a little look back over this weekend's action, starting on Saturday and Wasps up at Sale. So following on from their last week's victory over Loughborough, Wasps backed up their performance with a bonus point win, taking the victory 50-0. Loosehead prop Elizabeth Clark opened up the scoring following a line break from her front row partner Hannah West. Craig then also scored the second try of the afternoon, sneaking over the whitewash. Going into the break with just the two tries scored, Sale were definitely in the tie from what I've seen. But 2 minutes later, the Londoners scored the third of their tries for the afternoon. Teenage prop Maud Muir going over the whitewash. That was the first of the three tries for the tighthead in the afternoon. She also dotted down on the 45th and the 69th minute of play. Red Roses international Abby Dow then got a name on the score sheet twice. The wing registered two trademark finishes, with Ellie Boatman scoring, the winger making a return after a serious injury, getting on the score sheet. So a fantastic victory there for Wasps. That leads us on to the second game of the afternoon between, as I said, Saracens and Harlequins. Anytime these two teams meet, it's pretty much box office play. And this was a replay of the final, I think, last season. And it was quite a lively start. Poppy Cleal opened up the scoring after picking up from the base of the scrum and crashing over. Just moments later, her hard-earned 7 points was cut down to just 4 after Ellie Green split the post to keep Quins in hot pursuit. After the break, it was Mullen's team that came out the stronger. Their scrum allowing for Fiona Fletcher to pounce on the ball to register a score. And if it wasn't for smart tackling by McKenna, the Harlequins' lead would have been extended further. The England wing tackling Heather Cowell into touch 10 minutes into the second half. The challenge became worth its weight, though, in gold. Minutes later, the size pack combining to heave May Campbell over for the 17th try of the season. With the last 10 minutes left on the clock, Quinn scrum half Liam Riley collected from the base of the ruck and put the visitors back in the lead once more. Marching into the Harlequins half, as the clock ticked down, Saracens were not looking to give up their unbeaten home record and were offered the opportunity to level the scores, though Harrison was cool, calm and collected in doing so, meaning that the sides shared the spoils of the day. So yeah, a fantastic game there from both teams. DMP Durham Sharks against Gloucester Hartpury. After making the long journey to Durham DMP, Gloucester Hartpury opened up the scoring after just 5 minutes. England's Ellen Perry with the try. DMP struck back some 12 minutes later with fly half Jess Dad spotted a gap between the cherry and black shirts to race in under the sticks. Okay, those unfortunately were the only points of the afternoon for DMP. Gloucester Hartpury then registered 2 more tries. Red Rose international Kelly Smith racing over. Yeah, and then in the 50th minute, Shoreland's side got the bonus point after attack after attack, repelled by those in the blue and white of DMP, before Locke's break in the midfield and pass to Connie Powell allowed the hooker to score on her return from injury. Ellie Underwood then profited from the work of MS Singh before Locke's efforts were finally rewarded with a try of her own. The flanker charging over from 40 metres after intercepting the ball and Singh's conversion capping off the scoring. So things definitely look a little bit better for DMP. They're not losing by as many points as they have done recently, and they are starting to get on the score sheet. So hopefully they're making some progress. And then the final game on Saturday saw Loughborough Lightning taking on Exeter Chiefs at Sandy Park. So there was only sort of 6 points separating the two clubs with 2 rounds left to play. Inside centre Catrona opened up the scoring with a penalty before Rachel Johnson crossed over for her 6th try of the season. The open side flanker handing Catrona the 2 points. The two had tally for the day. Sheenan's try brought a close first half to an end. After a difficult first 40, Lightning compounded themselves to Exeter's half. Camped themselves in Exeter's half, and the defence of the Devonshire club stopping attacks over and over. It took a brilliant pass from Helena Rowland to isolate numerous defenders, allowing for a strong carry from Meehan and eventually a try from Megan Davey. Following the conversion by Emily Scarrett, the East Midlands side had 20 minutes to get at least a losing bonus point on the road, and it wasn't until the clock was in the red that Rowland acrobatically finished next to the corner flag. So another fantastic victory for Exeter Chiefs. I want to say it's 6 wins out of 7. So they are definitely pushing for that top 4, as I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. And then the final game, which actually took place on Sunday, was a close affair between Worcester Warriors and Bristol. The Warriors coming out on top 29-21. Warriors hooker Carmen Tremlin was the first name on the score sheet, latching onto the ball at the back of the maul, and moments later Jay Skeckles crossed over the try line thanks to the hard work of Paige Farries and Caris Cox. Farage was the scorer of Worcester's 3rd try as well, and Canadian international dotting down after 40-metre line break from Cox. Warriors' bonus point was secured before the first period came to close, with Tremlin peeling off the back of a maul to add a second try to her collection. And then second half, Bristol kind of came back into the game, had a bit more of a spring in their step, and the fight back started. Alice Lockwood was the Bears' first try scorer, and then it was quickly followed up by fullback Lauren Smith. However, it was not one-way traffic, with Tremlin bagging her hat-trick with some time still left on the board. That time no doubt seemed a bit longer for Worcester, as Semi Pam darted over to tee up a nail-biting final in the West Midlands. But Joe Yapp's side held out to secure their 5th win of the campaign. So a fantastic victory there for Worcester. Let's just have a look at the table. Saracens remain firmly at the top of the tree, currently 6 points ahead of Harlequins, followed up by the Wasp ladies who have now jumped over Loughborough Lightning, who are still in 4th. And remain 6 points ahead with 2 games left of Exeter Chiefs. No change at the bottom. DMP sadly are still at the bottom on 0 points, but definitely, judging by the results and the fact that the losing margin is not as big as it was at the start of the season, fingers crossed for them that they are improving. Okay, so after months of anticipation, the Women's Six Nation returns with 4 weekends of actions throughout the month of April, and I for one can't wait. Totally looking forward to this. So the challenges presented by COVID meant that the championship was rescheduled. It was put back from its normal kind of place in February and March. But for me, that's just kind of added to the build up and the anticipation of the competition. Obviously, England are the defending Grand Slam champions after they won all 5 matches in the 2020 championship. As ever, France are going to be their major threat, and they're going to seek to regain the trophy. But they haven't won that trophy since 2018. While, to be fair, you can never really write off Ireland, Scotland and Wales and Italy, they will definitely be keen to make their mark in this year's tournament. This year's tournament is going to be slightly different. So, as I said, it's starting this Saturday, April the 3rd, and finishes 3 weeks later on April the 24th. And it's going to kind of be a new and condensed format, similar to the one that we saw in the Autumn Nations Cup. And it culminates in a Super Saturday final day to crown the 2021 champions. So the format comprises of 2 pools of 3 teams, with each team playing at home and 1 away fixture. Once all the round of matches are completed, the teams will face off against the opposite ranked team from the other pool. So on the Super Saturday, i.e. you get the first place in Pool A versus the first place in Pool B. As I said, England are the defending champions, and in round 1 on the 3rd, they will be taking on Scotland at Castle Park in Doncaster. Italy are also in Pool A, and the Azzurri, they make up their introduction a week later when they host England in Padova, before Scotland visiting Scotland in round 3. Pool B, that opens up with France playing host to Wales in Vannes, with Ireland making their arrival a week later with a trip to Wales. The finals, then Ireland then hosts France in round 3 to complete that pool. So the finals, the 2 pool winners face off in the final on Super Saturday, April 24th, as I said, with the 2 sides that finish second and the 2 sides that finish third also meet that weekend, with the 3 Pool A sides being the home teams. So it's going to be really, really interesting weekend ahead. So this weekend, as I said, England against Scotland, France against Wales. Is it Rachel Hunter? I'm sure it's Rachel Hunter. Captain, number 8. She is back in the England team. The squads or the teams haven't been announced yet, but England, I just can't wait to see them take the field. It's going to be fantastic. If you're kind of following the Allianz Premier 15s, the English teams have been in some sparkling form. Sorry, it's not Rachel Hunter. I was thinking of Rachel Burford. It's Sarah Hunter. She's been back. She's back from a long injury layoff to lead the English in their defence. And yeah, can't wait. And we'll report on that in episode 27. Hello, mate. How are you?
Hello, mate. I'm good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. Looking forward to our 26th podcast together.
26. Yeah, I realised that this week, actually. We missed our announcing our silver anniversary last week.
Well, absolutely.
It was good to do the face-to-face one, actually, for a 26th
Yeah, it
episode.
was. It was, absolutely. But we're back into our own habitats now.
Yeah.
I'm sent to the bed with the dog while the missus dyes her hair. I'd imagine you're in your man cave.
I am, mate. I am.
Fantastic. Red wine in hand, dark chocolate on standby.
Of course, mate. Of course. Standard podcast itinerary, mate. I got it all going. It all going on.
Good lad. So very quickly before we get into the proper ruggers, a little bit of admin. I did announce today on Twitter that you are taking over the running of our Instagram account, because I don't know if it's my age, I just don't really get Instagram and how to promote the podcast. I'm doing okay on Twitter, but you are being let loose on Instagram.
Yeah, that's pretty scary, mate. I'm not exactly what's the word? All that au fait with social media myself, but give it a go, mate. Give it a go. See what happens, eh?
Absolutely. Why not? Okay, so let's get into the reason we're here. We're here to talk about rugby. Let's just start with the news, shall we? Just checking out on the BBC, as always. Little bug there. Doesn't seem to be a great amount of news this week. I've already covered the fact and done a little segment about the Women's Six Nations starting this weekend, so you don't need to worry about that.
Okay.
So Yeah, I don't think there's a great deal of news unless you've heard any rumours or any. Well, actually, I have heard a rumour. That's a bit of a lie. I have heard that George Cruz, once his contract in Japan is over, will be joining Steve Borthwick at the Leicester Tigers.
Really, I haven't heard that. I did
Well,
hear that he is quite likely to be returning to the Premiership to basically to try and earmark getting into the World Cup squad again. I think, but yeah, I haven't heard Tigers. That's interesting.
wow, I have heard Tigers and Borthwick obviously and Cruz were together at Sarries. Borthwick was Cruz's mentor at Sarries, so it kind of makes sense that he goes back to Yoda realistically to continue
Yeah,
his development in a quality team like Tigers.
but yeah, bit of a sort of step backward in his career from Japan to Tigers, but there we go. No,
But I mean,
that'll be a decent signing, wouldn't it? It's,
yeah,
he's
I think,
obviously a quality second row, isn't he?
yeah, absolutely. I think, from a Tigers perspective, he's still got a good few years left in him. I would have thought, and anybody of his quality would be, a good addition to any team. So fingers crossed that does happen. But that's the only news that I've kind of heard, unless you've heard any different.
No, nothing. Maybe the only thing I think it's just a rumor at the moment, but Tuilagi, I think, by the sounds of it, could be close to signing a new contract with Sale. Um,
Oh, okay.
keen to stay with Sanderson. I think that's if the rumor mill is correct.
Fantastic. We
Where,
can't blame him.
yeah, I mean, obviously he was linked with France and Japan and the rest, so that'll be quite good to keep him in the Premiership. I think.
And potentially for England as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. He's
Mm.
still available for England then, isn't it? Which is good.
Okay. Good. So let's just start with wrapping up the Six Nations. And obviously the rearranged game Friday night between Scotland and France. I believe you actually stayed up to watch it.
I
It was
watched
way
it. I
past,
watched the game live. Unbelievable.
fantastic. It was way past my bedtime, mate, and I kind of went to bed. But I was up early doors, very early doors with the kids, and I did watch the game Saturday morning. And blimey, what a fantastic game it wasn't, to be fair. We kind of suggested, well, certainly thought France were going to go all guns a-blazing and try and, get those 21 points, get the 4 tries, etc. But Scotland completely did a number on them. The minute I saw at the start of the game, the heavens had opened and it was completely chucking it down with rain, I just kind of thought, blimey, Scotland are going to take this one. It's Scotland's kind of game. And obviously I wasn't proven wrong. France, for me, just didn't look the France team that had beaten Wales the week before. They just looked quite flat. They didn't seem to have any cohesion in the team. They didn't seem to be playing as a team. Defensively, obviously, they looked okay, but they didn't seem to get a control of the game and really stamp their authority on the game. It's very sort of tick for tack, one scores, the other scores, the other scores, one scores, that kind of scenario. And it was quite disappointing, really. And obviously, Bryce Dulann's little thing at the end where obviously in the red, time over, all he had to do was kick the ball out and he runs up his own arse and, nobody's going to feel as bad as he does. He must be devastated. But I mean, it was, just from your perspective, watching it live on Friday night, what was your kind of thoughts?
Well, I actually quite enjoyed the game. In all honesty, mate, it was. I thought it was a pretty good contested game. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying, particularly from a French perspective. They didn't turn up in anything the way that they did for Wales and for England, isn't it? So yeah, they weren't on their best form, but Scotland turned up. So to be fair, they outplayed them, didn't they? Outmuscled them and the rest of it. So they definitely deserved the win.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, Scotland just seemed to win every element of the game from the line outs to, scrummaging looked fairly even, but just their general kind of play and their tactics for exiting in defence.
They just wanted it more, really, I think, mate. It was just, they just
more passion.
Yeah, exactly. That you could just tell, and you can in some games sometimes, can't you? You can just see which team and players just genuinely are up for it more, want it more, and sometimes that is enough to win, isn't it? Even if arguably the other side is sort of player for player better, isn't it? And that's how it turned out,
Yeah.
isn't it? So, but yeah, it wasn't a massive, amazing spectacle of a game, like you say. But I did enjoy the game. It was a good contest, and nice to see Scotland finish on a high as well, I thought. But
Absolutely. I
and
mean,
congratulations to Wales, isn't it? I thought actually the biggest highlight of the evening was the very professional. I don't know if you saw that, the interview with Wayne Pivac afterwards to congratulate
oh,
him.
it's curtains.
That's just unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah,
the
yeah,
the
bless him.
the sort of sponsor board that wasn't big enough and showing his very dated
Dated,
curtains. Yeah, all flapping
definitely.
around
Yeah,
behind him.
no, I did see that. I did see that.
Yeah, chuckle.
But so just on the Six Nations in general, do you think it was a good tournament?
I do actually. I think it was a good tournament. In particular, the fact in the light of COVID and being a bit sparse with rugby over the last year generally. But I know there's some people sort of claiming, oh, it's the best Six Nations ever, but I don't agree with that.
No.
I think there were some very good games, and it was nice to see some decent rugby and some good amount of tries being scored and some good running rugby, especially in the sort of latter few rounds.
Yeah.
But what let it down, probably the biggest thing for me anyway, was not having the proper Super Saturday finish,
Yeah.
and this game that was delayed to last week. Obviously, to finish the tournament, it was just a bit of an anticlimax, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Personally, if I
And
was in charge, like we already covered it before, but I would have just given the 5 points and the win to Scotland when France were proven to arguably be breaking the COVID regulations for the COVID outbreak in their camp. So and then you still would have had your Super Saturday finish, isn't it? But anyhow, it is what it is, isn't it? It's
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I would totally agree. I think given the circumstances, it was a good tournament. I wouldn't agree that it was one of the best ever, but I thoroughly enjoyed certain games. I really enjoyed England's win, obviously against France. I didn't enjoy much else about England, if I'm honest.
no.
And it was nice to see Wales, obviously going from the Autumn Nations, being so poor to coming through and nearly getting the Grand Slam. And obviously, France beating Wales, that was a good game. Scotland beating France, that was obviously good value for them.
Yeah, I think
So
in
I think that,
individual games that is
yeah,
interesting. They all include France as well, isn't it? But yeah,
yeah, and
Wales
that's the
against
worrying
France,
thing.
England against France, and Scotland against France. They're arguably up there with some of the best Six Nations games, aren't they? But no, the tournament as a whole, I don't think it was a good tournament, but
No,
not certainly not the
not the
best.
best.
No.
So just one little question. Who do you think out of all the nations, one player who was the sort of one standout player from all the teams? Not each individual teams, just from the whole, who was the best player in the tournament, do you think?
Ooh, best player in the tournament. That's quite a tough question, isn't it? Because all
Sorry, mate, I've put you on the spot a little bit.
that's
I'm
all right.
just
No, it's good.
curious.
It's good. It's good to. I'm just trying to think because there's no, even though Wales sort of won it, there was no dominant team, if you know what I mean. Certainly on
Yeah.
performances and that. So I'd probably pick two actually.
Ooh.
No, can I do that? Can I go for three?
Mate, I'll let you go. It's
Do what
our
you want. Just
podcast.
do what you want.
Do what you want, mate. Three. Let's go for three.
I'm going to go Lewis Rees-Zammit.
Yeah.
Just for almost. I know he's not completely new on the scene, but he is kind of new youngster on the scene, isn't he? He had a cracking tournament, didn't he? Some fantastic rugby play by him. Hamish Watson.
Yep.
I thought he was like a man possessed for Scotland, and certainly against England and against France.
Yeah, mate, those two would be in my three, definitely.
And the only other one I'm going to pick out, just for pure passion and leadership, leading from the front and real pride for his nation, Stuart Hogg.
Fair play.
He's really impressed me as a leader and a captain. I think he's
Kind of
yeah,
grown into the role.
yeah, definitely.
Do you think he's been helped along by obviously being down at the Chiefs now? Do you think he would
I
have
would have thought
been?
so. Yeah, I mean, it's just a cracking bunch of players, squad management, coach, and everything, and good culture down there, isn't it? So it's going to bring any player on, isn't it? If they're wanting to improve and progress, which most of these guys are, aren't they? But yeah, he's. I mean, we all know he's an amazing player, but I didn't realise um, that he's got that sort of real leadership quality in him as well, which is good to see. Just the passion in him as well, isn't it? It's great to see that, because you almost feel sometimes these days in the professional game that gets a bit lost. I know it's still there, but you just don't see it maybe visibly.
Yeah,
The
no,
players sort
I
of
agree.
showing it, but yeah. So there you go, mate.
No,
There's three for you.
fantastic. I mean, the only one, although I agree with everything you said in respect of Hoggy, I think I probably would have gone for Tag Byrne from Ireland. I thought he had a fantastic tournament and really kind of, came in and cemented himself now in that team, and the versatility that he can have playing in the second row or the back row
Yeah,
just kind of gives him that added kind of ability. And if he doesn't go to the Lions, I'd be very surprised. To be fair, I think everyone that we mentioned there realistically will be on the Lions tour without doubt, and it's balmy if they're not, because they're all on good form at the moment.
Yeah, possibly. But you never know. Lions, it's
No, Lions is different. I understand. That's fine. Premiership, Gallagher Premiership. Let's move on to that.
Yep.
So the Friday night, sorry, mate, I'm just trying to get to the results. 26th of March, wasn't it? Yeah, that's it. So Friday night saw Gloucester against Exeter. And on our prediction, didn't I predict Gloucester? No, I didn't.
No, we both
No, I
went.
didn't.
Actually, we both went Chiefs, but then when the teams came out, we
Then the
both said
teams came out. We both said Gloucester.
that's probably going to be Gloucester. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gloucester came out on top, 34-18. I mean, what more can you say? Obviously, Gloucester had, returning internationals,
Yeah.
Johnny May, Louis Rees-Zammit was in the team, and obviously Exeter, went down with a young squad. But I mean, they still had some decent players. I mean, Hildelago Klein was playing at 9, Cordero on the wing, Woodburn on the wing, Armand on the, yeah. So they still had, Yendel. So they still had some experienced players on the team, but majority of them were kind of young and up and coming players. Obviously, Hodge had a really good game, scored that really good try. Skinner at 10, sorry, I thought that he had a good game. But I think Gloucester just had a little bit too much for them, and I think they kind of saw it as an opportunity to put one over the Chiefs, really.
Yeah, fair play to them. I think it's. I don't think there's any surprise there. Just looking at the lineups, isn't it? That's where we both said when the team sheets came out that's
where we changed our mind.
It's going to go Gloucester's way, isn't it? But I don't really know. I mean, I'm not in any way questioning, obviously, Rob Baxter, because just outstanding coach manager, isn't he? And knows a lot more, a million times more than either of us, but knows what he's doing. But I always try, and when you see a decision like that to sort of name a starting squad like that, it's just trying to reason it and question why. I was quite surprised. I'm jarbling on, mate, but I'm surprised by the team selection, to be honest, that he went for that weaker selection.
Do you think it had anything to do with the European Cup this weekend and their game that's coming up?
Yeah, possibly. Well, yeah, no, almost certainly. But it's just, I don't know whether it's bit, end of last season, wasn't it, when we sort of came out of coronavirus and the sort of congested fixture list. All the teams were doing this, weren't they? Yeah. So it's almost like the clubs have sort of got used to doing that. So but seasons previously, you would very rarely have seen this happening, would you? That sort of team starting lineup would have been in the the LV Cup or whatever, which is obviously not going ahead at the moment, is it? But
No.
that's the sort of lineup you would see for that, isn't it?
No.
Anyway, yeah, I just yeah, obviously Europe must come into it, but you still would have thought with the squad they've got
So
that they could have put a few more
in.
yeah, a few more sort of experienced heads in there.
I mean, ultimately, what we're taking away from this is you do question Rob Baxter's selection.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just questioning the reasoning. And actually, I'm wondering whether my answer to my question is possibly that actually he doesn't, because basically Bristol are actually starting to creep away points wise in the table in first position, and I think he potentially isn't bothered whether Exeter end the season sort of first, second, third, or fourth, preferably first or second, because then you get a home semi-final. But I think he's just comfortable as long as we get to those semis, we're going to win it. So doesn't mind, giving the youngsters a go. And if you lose the odd game doing that, then so be it, sort of thing. I reckon that's potentially the line of thinking. Yeah, but
interesting that you said we. Are you swapping allegiance from Bath to Exeter?
Did I say we?
You did say we, mate, a couple of times. To be fair,
no, I'm not swapping allegiance, mate. No, I'm not swapping allegiance. But I have told you before, I do support Exeter.
I know.
I do support Exeter.
You do.
Yeah. Because
they are bilingual.
They are. I'm bilingual. They're my hometown side. So
no, that's fair, mate. I'm just messing with you. I understand exactly where you're coming from. It's just interesting. I just think he's definitely got an eye on Europe. But what you said about the top four, you're right. Bristol are probably out of reach, maybe a little bit now with the games remaining. So and he is a master tactician. He knows his stuff. He's not stupid.
He's done it a few times.
Yeah, exactly. He's been around the block. So let's move on to the next game. The game that I was really looking forward to was Bristol against Harlequins. And unfortunately for Quins, they came away from Ashton Gate with a loss in the dying minutes or dying seconds. I just thought Harlequins again were fantastic. Marlow was on form. Danny Kerr was his nuggety little pain in the arse self. Mike Brown was really good at fullback. Esther Hazen again in the centre was on good form. Marcus Smith, Baldwin in the hooker. But I think it was another game that Harlequins realistically should have won and just kind of didn't have that killer instinct at the end to kind of, play the percentages and close the game out, which was disappointing for them.
Yeah. I agree.
Did you see any of that game?
I did actually, yeah. I watched not the whole game live, but I watched a fair bit live. And yeah, I agree. They played some cracking rugby, but another one that they should have won and could have won, but didn't play a full 80 minutes, did they? They sort of lapsed in the last 5-10 minutes, and that cost them the game, didn't it? But it's
which is a shame. But
it is a shame. But it's just hopefully they'll still end up top four. But these are the sort of games I think they've done it. They did it against Chiefs as well, didn't they? Lost essentially in the dying minutes of the game.
It's the games that if you are going to be top four contenders or title contenders, that you need to win.
Yeah.
Realistically, and I don't think you can take anything away. Okay. At the end, you could probably take away the players maybe made a mistake, but they still wanted it. They still had the drive and still had the passion. They wouldn't have just slogged their guts out for nearly 80 minutes just to willingly throw it away. It was just those clinical moments where maybe a few mistakes were made in decision making.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, Bristol, Randrandra was back. He looked pretty awesome with that ridiculous offload to O'Connor for the try.
Yeah.
Sinclair at the end must have loved that one, putting over the Quins.
Yeah.
And it was just a fantastic game to watch. And I just genuinely think Harlequins will be in the top four and potentially pushing for the actual title. Be really interesting to see.
Yeah, the problem is if you come up in a semi against Bristol or Chiefs now, A, it's probably going to be away, and B, you've just cracked and lost to both of those. Yeah, which is just a bit of a mental thing, isn't it now? But still, semi-finals are one off, isn't it? So you never know.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to the game that has given me such disappointment. Bath against Irish.
Why are you so disappointed? You don't support?
I don't support Bath, but and I said this to you in a text because I think you got annoyed with me when I took the mickey a little bit. Bath have the ability to be so good, but they just didn't. We've had discussions about this. We've had discussions about the red cards. You thought they were a bit harsh. Me, not so much. But they started off so brightly again, and kind of just lost it. Lost it in the second half when I mean, how many cards were there? With 2 reds, 1
I
yellow
lost
for
count.
Bath.
Irish had a
Yeah.
few as well,
I
didn't
mean,
they?
what was your? Yeah. I mean, Irish are a good team. It would have potentially been a close game, but to watch it from the
It was a
start,
close game.
Bath looked really good. Yeah, but that was only because Irish then had a couple of yellow cards themselves, and it dropped the players down to pretty much equal, didn't it? Come the end.
Yeah, so it would have been a close game if they're equal the whole way. You could argue, wouldn't it? But
You could argue that. You could argue
but
that.
yeah, no, I'm not getting too. Like, I was obviously disappointed to lose that because we, there's a couple of silly individual errors. Talking card wise, almost certainly lost us that game individually. Without those, we were in with a good chance of winning it. Like, you can't take anything away from Irish. Played well, and they're a good side. We've said it several times this season. They're a good side, and playing them at home is
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
not an easy place for anyone to go, is it? But
No, I agree.
I'm not getting too. I think actually Bath get a bit of a hard ride like that, and I don't really know why, but everyone sort of gets on the having a go at Bath bandwagon when they lose a game or get a bad run or whatever. Not necessarily the same with other sides, and I think part of that is because you look at the quality sort of names, internationals and all the rest of it. But then they're not the only club with a squad with that much strength and depth, are they? So, but yeah, at the end of the day, I said the 2 red cards. If you want to go on to those, they were harsh, but I'm not saying I don't agree they shouldn't have been red cards, because with the letter of the law these days, they definitely were red cards, weren't they? But
yeah,
it's just a bit. It's just a bit, in my view. I'm a bit old school maybe with rugby, but there's a bit something and nothing really. Both of those, they weren't particularly nasty or anything like that. It was just silly. It was just silliness.
No, I can.
But it's rugby. It's a physical game, and people get frustrated, and the rest of it, isn't it? But
Yeah.
And actually, the Tom Dunn one, personally, and I watched it live, and I've watched it back as well, and Creevy was just as much involved and at fault with that as Dunn. Dunn reacted, should have controlled himself and not reacted the way he did. Certainly shouldn't have raised his arm to him. But Creevy just ran a line straight at him, and the ball was gone miles away, wasn't it? He ran a line straight at him. It didn't look like he was going to stop. So Dunn was doing something to basically take the contact and stop him, but he shouldn't have lifted his elbow up to head height, which was where the error is. And then the bit that really annoyed me was Creevy's reaction, and that actually is something that I've seen coming into the game a bit more, and I think that needs to be stamped down on a bit personally, is the football side of things. Just rolling around and dived. It was late reaction as well, so it wasn't genuine. He just completely milked it, and I really have a personal dislike for that sort of behaviour. That's worse than what Dunn did, in my opinion. But yeah, that personally, I think it's a bit of a sidetrack here, but I just think that needs to be stamped out of our game, because it is creeping in, and I think refs need to get on top of it. And I think if the referee believes that players are acting, milking, whatever you want to call it, then they should get yellow cards. 10 minutes in the bin.
Yeah.
And the other argument is that they get. And I heard this on another podcast actually, and it's a good point that if it's contact to the head, and if the players, if they're saying they're in genuine pain and rolling around on the floor and whatever, then they should go off for an HIA assessment. That's 10 minutes off the pitch, isn't it? So I think that's a good idea. That should be a minimum, because that will stop a lot of players doing it. But then if So they should go off the
Yeah,
pitch, but then obviously they're able to be replaced as an HIA. But if it's deemed to be pissing around and being silly, then it should be 10 minutes in the sin bin and no replaced player. But
yeah, because Creevy didn't go off for a
no,
HIA, did he?
and nor did I
No.
forget the name of the I think it's the prop, wasn't it? The Irish prop that Yules put his elbow or shoulder into his back. He didn't go off either, did he? But
No, but that was his back, though, wasn't it? I do get what you mean, though. But I think just on that Yules one, he'd already had a yellow card, Yules,
yeah,
hadn't he? And it was it just felt a bit silly. It was like a silly. I get when we had our conversation earlier that you sort of said, well, Yules was running to go obviously make a tackle, and the guy was running in front of him in his line, and he's kind of pushed him out of the way.
Yeah, it was stupid. He shouldn't have done it. But the guy was, whether you believe it was intentional or not, the guy was run in his way, blocking him from getting to the ball carrier, wasn't he? So for whatever reason, Yules couldn't hold his frustration and reacted in a silly manner, didn't he? But which is disappointing, especially an England international returning for his first game back to the club, and the captain shouldn't really be behaving like that. But
no, he should be leading by example. No, I agree.
But
I agree. I tell you also as well, are you tapping something?
Yeah, sorry, I'll stop.
That's all right. It's just these microphones are quite good and they do pick up a lot. I didn't think Cocker Singer had a good game, did he?
No, not at all.
I know he's obviously come back from injury.
He is improving
and whatnot.
But it seems to be a very slow, gradual process. But he was out to be fair to him, he was out for a very, very long time.
And I thought, sorry, mate, I'm jumping a lot here. Apologies. I thought, what was he called? What's he called? Orlando Bloom? No, Orlando Bailey.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Bailey,
mate. I thought he looked quite decent, to be fair, because you've mentioned him before as an up-and-coming young guy.
Yeah, actually, I think an overall assessment of the game, personally, I think and I think Priestland's out for a few weeks now, but if Priestland, it's another side thing because Barfar, obviously old Schumann's injured. The new signing is injured for the rest of the season now. It's the fly half saga, but
is he?
Yeah, he's out. He's out for the rest of the season, mate. But
what did he do? Sorry, let's just sidetrack quickly. I didn't realise he was out.
I think it's ligament. But he's out for the rest of the season, definitely. But so.
And what's wrong with Priestland then? I didn't realise he was injured.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong, but I've heard he's out for a few weeks. But hopefully that's not a long few weeks. But
so then realistically, Orlando Bailey needed that game because obviously Bath have got a Champions Cup, what's it called? Challenge Cup game this week.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's okay. I think that there's Josh Matavesi who could step in, and Cam Redpath as well, who's close to coming back to fitness, I think. But I'm all for giving this guy a go. But I think in this particular game, if Priestland was fit, he would have started. I think that would have made the difference. Personally, I think he would have, even with the cards and everything, he would have been the difference to win the game. Nothing more than just kicking the goals, isn't it? Because Spencer, and I'm not in any way criticising Spencer because he had an outstanding game and he took on a hell of a lot of additional responsibility to ease the burden off young Orlando Bailey at 10. But he did miss, I think, 10 points, something like that.
Right. Okay.
Kicking at sticks, which you would argue Priestland would probably get most, if not all of those.
Well, yeah, he would have. Yeah.
But not to take anything away from Spencer, because he stepped up, he took on the kicking, and it's not something he does week in, week out, isn't it? And I thought he had an outstanding game, actually. Spencer, he really did. He took on, not did he take on the goal kicking, but he was doing most of the, all of the play essentially, certainly for the majority of the first half, and that was going through 9, wasn't it? So they were really. And you question that as well. Actually, that was obviously a tactic from Hooper and Hatley, which was just to completely divert all play away from Orlando Bailey on his starting debut. But so I'm a bit like I understand why you do that, and it's good to do it in some way to make sure sort of eases into the game and then maybe gradually add a bit more responsibility as he's sort of warming into it and it's going all right. But on the other hand, I think 10 is such a critical position. You almost have to say, well, if I'm picking you, then I'm backing you, go out and do what you do, sort of thing, isn't it?
Go out and do it. Yeah.
But
I understand where you're coming from.
Anyway, you don't want to give him all the responsibility, and he has an absolute mare, and then it's a confidence thing, and you don't see the guy again, do you, or whatever? But...
No. I get where you're coming from with that, definitely. So moving on then to
we better. We stopped on quite a long way.
Yeah. No, that's fine. But just moving on to Northampton's destruction of Worcester, 62-14. It wasn't like it was a second-rate Worcester team at all. I mean, Kvesic was playing, Hill was playing, Kitchener, Arnett, all those kind of people. And Lawrence in the centre, Ashton on the wing, Pennell at fullback. Obviously, Ashton took a red card for well, no point in talking about that because it was just ridiculous what he done. And that's quite a big defeat for Worcester, to be fair.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I've seen the highlights of some. I didn't watch it live, but yeah, two things. I thought Northampton played some amazing rugby and some fantastic tries.
Yeah.
But yeah, actually really concerning for Worcester. If this was still relegation, then you'd be saying these guys are going down, aren't they? Just the nature of that defeat is a big concern for them, isn't it? It's
I mean, Ollie Slightholm got 4 tries.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a complete romp. That's probably the biggest romping of the league so far, isn't it? But,
I'd agree.
So that's a big worry, I would say, for Worcester.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it because what can you say? Worcester turned up, Northampton stuffed them. Pretty simple, really. Yeah. Sale, Wasps. At Rico, Wasps unfortunately have lost again. Sale taking it at the death. Yellow cards are plenty in this game as well. You know, I mean, did Sale have 4? Yeah, Sale had 4 yellow cards. McGinty got a yellow card. Van der Merwe got a yellow card. McGuigan, Luke James got a yellow card. Orgrave for Wasp got a yellow card. So quite a lot. I guess the point I'm trying to get to is quite a lot of disruption in the game through the cards. But despite the 4 yellow cards, Sale was still able to pick up that win. And I think that's the point we make. Is it's when top 4 teams win away, but they can win away in a shit game effectively, and they know how to win and they know how to kind of, you know, get those points. Did you get to see much of it? I mean, to be fair, that's probably the only one I didn't really get to watch. I only sort of saw the highlights of that one. And Wasps just don't look on good form. They're out of form. I mean, I know they had Dan Robson was back, Gopeth at 10, Fekitoa in the centre, you know, Launchbury was in there, Shields and Young were playing, Barbary at 8. I thought Barbary had a good game. But they're just not looking that great at the moment, Wasps, to be fair.
Yeah, there's definitely they're definitely nowhere near their best. I mean, the Fekitoa try was pretty decent, wasn't it? They did play some good rugby, but I totally agree that I think you're right. I think it was 4 yellow cards for Sale, so their discipline was not good on the night, and not the best performance from them. But it's just like you say, like we said before, it's now that teams start to grind out, and this was Sanderson grit coming through, wasn't it? I think. They ground it out and got the win, which is what you got to do from now on to the end of the season, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then moving on to Sunday's game, Tigers at home against Newcastle.
George
Tigers,
Ford versus Newcastle.
Well, I disagree with that, if I'm honest. Don't get me. I mean, Ford had a fantastic game.
He had a brilliant game. Why didn't he play like that for England?
You know, I don't know. I think Wigglesworth played well. Genge was rampant and just bowling people over. Liebenberg played really well. Obviously scored a good try. Kelly in the centre, I thought, played quite well. Tigers were 16-0 up at half time, and then Newcastle kind of came back into the game. and then kind of Tigers edged it. I mean, it wasn't a fancy affair or anything like that. It was quite a two gritty teams going at it and knocking six bales of shit out of each other for 80 minutes, and thankfully Tigers came out on top.
Yeah, well, it looked. I only watched the highlights, mate. It looked like Tigers dominated the first half. Was it 16-0 half time?
Yeah.
But the second half was a good
16 nil at
contest,
half
wasn't
time. Yeah, absolutely. And did you see on social media about the little spat between Genge and the Welsh, the prop from?
Yeah, I did. I heard about it, but I didn't actually see it. If you know what I mean, or hear what it was about or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. They were just squaring up before the start of the game, and you know, it's just, I guess it's a bit of passion coming out, and that was it. A few words, a few people held people back, but fun and games. But I think what it does mean with Bath's defeat and Leicester's victory is that I'm pretty sure I sent this to you. English Premiership table. Bath are in 8th and Leicester in 7th, 1 point ahead of you boys, which is nice.
Yeah, you'd be 4 points behind after the next round then.
Well, I am looking forward to that, because that is us at your ground, isn't it? So
5 point victory for Bath.
Mate, I don't think so.
It's coming.
No, it's not. So Fantasy Rugby. Let's just have a little brief. I mean, I could really go on about this for a while, but I'm not.
Could you?
It was nice for me. Well, not really. It's nice for me to have won the round, but I've pulled 20 points back. That's good. You'll come back and say, yeah, but,
started on minus 40.
You know, I started on minus 40, and then one guy pulled out of the game, so I was one man down. So I was lucky.
Wins a win, mate. A win's a win.
A win's a win, and I'm going to take it. I think you're still 400 odd points ahead, but hopefully the tides have turned.
20 points gained, 515 to go, mate.
Is it really that many? So yeah, I mean, we'll leave that at that, because this weekend, obviously, it's the start of Europe again, and I'm genuinely confused about what's actually happening with Europe now. Do you understand it at all?
I'll be totally honest. I haven't even attempted to try and understand it. It's just a hash up, isn't it? The bloody Europe this year, but it'll probably get interesting once you actually get to the quarters. As far as I know, you've got this round, and then this round decides who's going into the quarterfinals, and then it's just sort of business.
But why?
As usual.
What is it? This decides the teams that go into the quarters. Then is it just because? Are these still like the league games? Are they? I'm so confused.
No, this is like last 16, isn't it? So it's 8. I think it's 8 fixtures, 16 teams. Then you're down to 8, then down to 4, then down to 2.
Okay, all right, that's fine. So
I think. As I say, I haven't studied it, but
no, that's fine. So, should we just look at predictions in the European Champions Cup, or do you want to do the European Challenge Cup as well, just from the kind of Premiership teams?
Fly through both if you want, mate, really quickly.
Okay, so Gloucester at home to La Rochelle. La Rochelle.
It's going to be tough for Gloucester, isn't it? La Rochelle.
So, Challenge Cup, Bath are away at Zebra Friday night.
Are you flicking between?
Bath. Yeah, I'm going to flick between just because it means jumping back on days on what I'm looking at.
Okay, yeah, Bath.
Bath at Zebra. So, same night, Challenge Cup, Irish at home to Cardiff Blues.
I'd probably go Irish on that, I think.
Yeah, I would as well at home. Irish are a good team. I don't know a great deal about Cardiff Blues, so... Okay, back to the Champions Cup. Wasp at home to Claremont. There's only one way that's going.
Wasps.
Claremont.
Yeah. Claremont, definitely.
Slip of the tongue. Champions Cup still. Leon at Exeter. I think that's going to be quite a tough game.
Chiefs.
If Baxter's plays his card right, it's going to be Chiefs, I think.
Yeah.
Skipping to same day, Challenge Cup, Newcastle away at Ospreys. Ospreys have been on some really good form lately, haven't they? I think. So I'm going to say Ospreys on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that as well, because Newcastle not been firing on all cylinders recently, and it's away, obviously, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah. Northampton away at the Dragons. Northampton.
Yeah.
Leicester at home to Connacht. Tigers.
Good game.
Yeah, that will be a good game.
But yeah, Tigers.
Tigers take that one. Bristol at Bordeaux, back in the European Champions Cup now.
Bristol at Bordeaux.
Yeah, because Bristol beat Bordeaux in the semi-finals, didn't they? Of the Challenge
Cup
though, last year, and I think it was quite close.
I'm going to back Bristol, but that is going to be
extra
that's
time.
going to be tough for them. But I'm going to back Bristol.
Yeah, I would back Bristol as well. To be fair, they just seem to know how to win at the moment, either in whichever style they want to play, whether it's that front forward based gameplay or play out wide to the backs. Yeah. Sale European Champions Cup away at Scarlets.
Sale.
Yeah, I'll go Sale. European Challenge Cup Harlequins at home to Ulster.
Ooh.
Quins.
That could be a good one.
Oh, I think it will be a good one.
Yeah, Quins.
I would say Quins.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I think what we'll do in next week's episode is we'll just review, obviously, the English teams and how they got on. If we get an opportunity to watch them.
Okay.
I'm assuming they're on BT Sport.
I think it all is. Yeah.
One thing like I said, really kind of touched on is the start of the Women's Six Nations, and I'm just looking maybe next week that we review that together.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that all right?
Sounds good.
Good. Okay, cool. So I think we've got a plan.
We've got a plan.
Which I like.
It's unusual.
Well, it's always good to have a plan. Doesn't make sense normally. I think that's it, mate. Should we wrap things up and we'll get together next week?
It feels like I'm missing something. It's because we've got no Premiership, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't like these European rounds. I like the Premiership, but there we go.
Yeah, no, I do too, mate. I do too. All right, buddy. Well, listen, let's leave it there, and we'll catch up again next week.
Cool, mate. Okay.
You go and enjoy that bottle of wine now, won't you?
I don't think I'll be hitting the bottle, but yeah. Bedtime soon, mate.
Yeah, mate, I'm definitely going to bed now. The dog's already fast asleep, so I'm tapping out.
All right, mate. Speak to you next week.
All right, buddy. Take care, and I'll see you soon.
Bye,
mate. So that was episode 26 of the Top 2 Inches Rugby Podcast. Thank you very much for downloading and listening to us rabble on. Thank you once again to I Spy Surveys for sponsoring our podcast. It's greatly appreciated, and it makes us able to bring it to your ears. Obviously, we are available on all kind of standard podcast platforms, ranging from Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Anchor. We are also on Twitter at Top 2 Inches RP. So go over there, give us a follow, get involved on Twitter. We're quite active on Twitter, posting out lots of different feeds. You can also get the latest episode linked in from there. And against my better judgment, I've let Ollie come in as an admin on our Instagram account. So he is now going to be pretty much taking charge of Insta. So I apologise for anything that's posted on there. Only joking. I'm sure he will come up with some fantastic content. Anyway, we'll be back next week with episode 27. Take care, stay safe, and we'll catch you soon. Thanks again for listening.